All right, we are seeing a nice little pump on Bitcoin here, looking at a price of 70,250, and it begs the question, are we going to be rallying up for brand new all-time highs, or are we going to continue to slide down? And I think it looks pretty clear right now. We've got a very nice block of resistance up here in the very low 71s. We have tagged it already, and we've produced our first real pullback after getting above the 67k resistance level. We found our first real pullback. It took us down by about 7%, 8% within about 3 days, right? So textbook brilliant performance right there as far as I'm concerned. To me, we are now just continuing to act in this sideways range, and any sideways range we establish within an uptrend is automatically de facto bullish as far as I am concerned. So to me, this is a good sign. You know, you want to see prices holding quite stable when they've managed to break above critical zones of resistance, because that shows you that the market is confident with these price areas. And if the market is confident with them, it is comfortable with them. And if it is comfortable with them, it is likely to break them. We've also got a bank holiday in the UK across the United States today, so the S&P 500 has not started to trade. However, I do think that it's in a pretty good setup here. It's bounced down to its previous all-time high to capture a little bit of support. That was basically Friday's trading session, so I do expect that the S&P 500 should be able to pick that back up a little bit, and all of this paints a very exciting picture for Bitcoin. I want to tell you about the very bullish case here before, of course, as usual, I come over to the bearish case. I do not have my standard recording set up today, so forgive me for anything that's not particularly normal, but the content, of course, will still be fire. And like I said, yeah, just up top here, a nice zone of resistance up in the very low 71s. You know, I think that this shouldn't be a particularly big problem for Bitcoin. And, you know, if we look at previously how long it's taken to get past this level, on this occasion here, more or less instantly. On this occasion here, we were getting rejected for a period of about 6.5 days, and then it didn't quite work out for us over here. It was less than a day, and over here, again, roughly just 1 day. So we have now encountered this zone of resistance and stayed below it for 6 days, although we haven't been constantly hitting it. So to me, yeah, I mean, you know, something a little bit like this, but I certainly wouldn't expect on that third potential attempt, if it happens, because nothing is guaranteed, but on that third attempt, I wouldn't expect the resistance level to hold, which to me basically means now that, you know, we're almost just like looking for a reason to pop and break out. And if we don't get that reason, then, you know, sure, I might be interested in a bit of downside. And let me talk to you about what that downside looks like here before we continue to get bullish here and talk about upside targets. So I think the best way to actually cover the downside here is just to look at where our support zones are. And there are some pretty good ones here. The first one that I'm going to be looking at is somewhere between $68,000 and $69,000, a brilliant support zone for Bitcoin, something which initially we saw big problems at. Then we saw nice bounces off this price level as well. We've already bounced off this price level today. That's actually what's giving us this candle. And by the way, that was super recent. That was just like right before I started to hit record here. So this is a move that you might see some resolution to when you watch this after the fact. Obviously, double check that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel as well, so that you don't miss out on this time sensitive content. When you're down there, there's actually going to be a link to an exchange called Blowfin here. These guys are one of the newer big exchanges on the block, and when I say big, I really do mean big. I was surprised by just how big their volume is. It's like already top 10 if I'm not mistaken. I have to fact check that, don't quote me on that, but these guys are running a pretty big exchange here, and they've done it very well funded. I've spoken to high level staff members on their team. They're giving you a huge campaign here to sign up if you want to gain access to it. These dates up top here are incorrect, so you do have time, don't worry about it. And here's a little look at what you get based off what you deposit and what you trade. So a lot of free cash here available. This is a no KYC alternative to my favorite exchange, which remains Bybit. So you can check them out with the links below. You know, just when you start trading using my links is when you're going to start getting big bonuses that you can trade with. And of course, any profits you generate are going to be yours to keep. So that's super exciting, especially when we start looking at levels like this, because they produce pretty easy, you know, obvious long opportunities. And it's not just that, it's also a little bit lower. You know, for me, the actual price zone that we bounced off here in the low 66k range is actually really important. And the reason I think it's really important is because we've seen nice big reversals coming off this level already. We've seen bits of consolidation and important reversals taking place across this price level. And so to get that kind of new confirmation that we're also using it as support over here is absolutely fantastic. I could not ask for anything better than that, so I'm super, super happy with it. If we go ahead, and I need to find out why I can't draw anything right now, but if we go ahead and draw a Fibonacci, we're also going to start to get an idea of where some potential bounce zones could be if the price does end up dropping here. We've got a 382 Fibonacci up here at about $66,000, so we very, very nearly came down to target. If we draw this Fibonacci from the absolute low over here to the absolute all-time high over here, we get a slightly more usable set of Fibonacci's here, and that again still shows us that this 67k area definitely very important for the market. Our 618 golden pocket sitting in the 62.5k range, again looking pretty clean. I think that this would still be a very bullish place to see the price come down to. I do, however, think that most people wouldn't be able to stomach it, and it would probably get quite hairy. It would probably get quite uncomfortable, I think, for a lot of traders in this market, but that's completely okay. We're not upset when things get uncomfortable. That's what we want. That makes it easier for the rest of us to trade. When everyone's getting uncomfortable, they start becoming a little bit more predictable, and that's what we want to see. We've got 74 today, 75 yesterday on the Fear and Greed Index, which is very high as far as I'm concerned. If we take a look at this across the last year, these are quite high readings. You know, we don't tend to stay up here for particularly long. We do get humbled. Sometimes the humbling takes some time to really kick in. Sometimes it can be a fair bit faster. For example, here going from a reading of 90 down to a low of only 75, you know, definitely still a big deal in terms of getting a nice drop there for the Fear and Greed Index. Here are some nice examples we've had recently, going up from a high of like 73 to a low of 43, and all of that happening within the space of about 10 days. Okay, so we've seen some really interesting stuff happening here with the Fear and Greed Index, and of course this is something that we have continued to cover with you all on the YouTube channel. Those of you that have been subscribed and engaging with the channel by hitting the like button are going to be very well aware of this. We bring it back to the charts here. Like I said, we've got that those support levels below us. We've got some other key indicators that demonstrate the same thing. For example, the 4-hour Ichimoku cloud, which we have not even touched yet. So if we do end up coming back down to this particular zone, we're going to have even more support next time than we did right now, which is absolutely fantastic. 4-hour EMA ribbon, we have already been bouncing off fairly well. We kind of faked out below here a little bit, but this has clearly resulted in a nice big bounce. On the daily time frame here, we have continued to flip bullish, and this is now starting to become I would say, a useful lagging indicator for support. The reason I'm saying it's useful is that we have now established some level of spread. You can now individually make out each line, which to me makes this indicator a lot more useful now than it was before, and it's to the extent that I actually wouldn't even consider or care for the indicator back in days like this, but in days like now I do care, and of course you've seen me kind of walk that as well with you guys on this channel here. So that to me means that the price, if it does end up kind of falling back down, is going to have a really nice cushion of support from this daily EMA ribbon right here now, which is fantastic. The daily Ichimoku continuing to offer Bitcoin phenomenal support for the lows of this entire 60k range, which I think is the single biggest cushion, mattress, fail-safe, whatever you want to call it, that Bitcoin has if everything goes horribly. You know, it has so much support going for it in this particular zone now. Now, do I feel the same level of confidence that these indicators are giving me? No. The primary reason I don't feel the same level of confidence is because we've already tested these lows so many times that I don't really care what the indicator says. It's just not something that excites me. That doesn't mean I'm going giga short if we start losing support levels or anything like that. The fact is, and I've made this very clear with you guys, I don't need to be trading everything I see. In fact, I'm quite comfortable saying I don't know. More importantly, I don't care. And I will come back to this when I can see something a little bit more obvious. This is a mentality which a lot of people don't have, but it really is one of the things that sets you apart and will make you a lot of money in these markets. So we come back to the short term here, and Sitting at about 70.3 is absolutely fantastic. As we know very well, we do have that last little block of resistance up here in the 71k range. And for me, the fact that we've now kind of been consolidating for a long time before getting this breakout, you know, is definitely starting to point toward a big breakout incoming. You know, we've had 90 days of sideways trading here now pretty much since we've entered this range. So that in and of itself is huge. That's definitely a long time that we've actually been trading sideways here. But it's not just that. It gets crazier than that, because if we go ahead and just extract some of the bars that we produced previously, you're going to start to see some really interesting kind of similarities with the price action that we're in right now versus what has already happened earlier in 2023. And the main example of that I want to give you just for the minute, and I'm not saying that this is what we're doing, but it certainly looks very, very similar, is this right here, where Bitcoin had more or less back in 2023 spring/summer, Bitcoin had more or less slowly traded all the way back to the very bottom of its range from 30k down to 25. It got that big spike up back to 30k and then slowly traded down to 25 again. You get that next little block of resistance at 30 and then you fly through it, and the whole thing ended up being, from start to finish, a 220-day period. It says 190 here. That's because my diagrams are not drawn to scale, but you can definitely fill in the blanks there. And this is an actual, you've just seen me pull it up. This is an actual visualization of how it actually looked in real time. Well, this isn't real time anymore because I'm moving it around, but this is actually how it looked when the price was moving, and we've definitely got a very similar setup here now. So am I saying that we're going to do the same thing here? Absolutely not. I don't think that's going to happen. That would be far too predictable, and honestly, the markets don't typically move like that in my experience. Unfortunately, though, I don't have a clear alternative for you. They just don't typically move in any way, you know, that you could like this. But the reason I'm showing this to you is to show you the predictable thing that Bitcoin would do, which I am not expecting it to do, just so that you can take this with a pinch of salt if somebody else shows this to you. I just think that it is not reliable or safe enough to entertain this particular type of fractal style analysis, and so it is something I won't do. You know, if I don't feel like it can be done safely, then it's not something I'm interested in doing at all. So that's something I'm definitely keeping an eye out for with this particular market as well. But bringing it back to some ideas that are a lot more fun than that, you see, if Bitcoin has now consolidated for a long period of time, if we are looking at finally producing that breakout at this particular price range, to me, and I've been saying this a lot for many, many years on this channel, the more you consolidate, the more you pull back, the more you form these kind of corrections, the bigger the inevitable breakout will be. And so where previously, you know, I'm always the voice that says, you know, I'm not sure, it's going to be a little bit more slow and controlled and whatever, here you have me now saying that, look, we have managed to form a pretty, you know, a decent retracement from our absolute all-time high to our low. We're down by 23%. Now, should we have seen more? Could we have seen more? 100% yes to both questions as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't matter though. Not necessarily, you know, again, 90 days of sideways is in and of itself a massive correction going, you know, where you are paying for this correction with time, not with money, you know, and so the market is definitely correcting as far as I'm concerned from that particular perspective. And if that is the case, you couple it with all the other factors that we have, to me, this is a you know, sleeping bomb that hasn't detonated yet, and if it does detonate, it would probably explode massively to the upside. So forget the 70k range. I think it's easily an $80,000-$90,000 Bitcoin, easily, without a doubt, within days of breaking out, you know, if we do end up getting that breakout, and that does look like a matter of time now as well at this stage. So pretty good position, and it's good to know that if Bitcoin drops down, it's also got a lot of support below it as well, which would still be interesting. It's going to take a lot to invalidate this market now. As far as I'm concerned, we could drop as low as $60,000, and this is not a bearish situation. Obviously, it would get worse if we lost critical levels like 66, like 69. And that is something I'm looking at for shorter term trades, because, like I said, you've got huge bonuses available here on Blowfin, which does not require KYC. And one of the very cool opportunities that I'm particularly interested in is, you know, again, just kind of looking at some of these previous levels that have been, you just very obvious resistance or support zones for Bitcoin, just anything where we've seen nice kind of reactions to these price levels, well, these could be interesting long setups as well, down in this very low $69,000 range. So again, a lot of these trades, not necessarily the exact type of trades that I'd be interested in taking, but if I'm being given all the free money that these exchanges are given, I'm also not going to care, and I'm just going to try it anyway, because there's absolutely no risk on my side, and of course a lot of upside if I do make money and withdraw it. Now, if we take a look at Ethereum as a very interesting altcoin, we have seen Ethereum shoot up against Bitcoin. This is fantastic. This is the first attempt of any sign of life that Ethereum has shown us pretty much since the beginning of this year. Okay, at the very, very beginning of the year, we saw a big 27% move within 2 days. Over here, up to now, it's been about 2 weeks, and we've seen a 28% move, so very, very similar here. I don't think I calculated this correctly back here. So we are looking at similar time frames, similar moves here for Ethereum against Bitcoin, which is fantastic. But it also means that Ethereum is not doing anything outside of the ordinary. Like I just said, these are things that we've already seen for Ethereum. These are things that we've seen for Ethereum many, many times, and they just don't work out. Here's another phenomenal example of a 73% rise up. It happened very quickly, and this was what actually triggered Ethereum's downtrend. So, this is a setup that we've seen before. Is it good? Does it show strength? Yes. Does it continue to fall exactly in line with the same thing that's been going on for years, which has been producing a hideous downtrend for Ethereum? Yes. And so am I bullish? The answer is no, I'm still not bullish on Ethereum. If it does end up getting above key levels like 0.57 BTC per token, and you start flipping it and turning it into support, then okay, fine. I will accept that, even though I've been amazingly right for an incredibly long period of time, that this time, after flipping key levels like that, actually Ethereum could be strong. But to me right now, this just looks like a super typical setup where, and by the way, I could not care less about the ETF. It's absolutely 100% meaningless to me. I just don't care. And so with this ETF narrative and everything, and just everybody acting like we're in the future of finance now with all of this, to me, I just see a chart which has been trending down for a really long period of time. It's broken market structure, and now it is coming back up to tackle very strong previous support as potentially very strong new resistance here, and it has been acting as resistance for a long time here. So I don't know if we break it on the first attempt, right? What I think is very likely is basically this, right? I just don't see a bullish outcome for Ethereum right now. I don't know how low this would go. Maybe it just goes into this box, maybe lower still. I don't know. I think one of the things that a lot of people mess up when they look at this chart is that they don't actually zoom out, so they don't know what they're looking at. It's a very easy thing to say that Ethereum's going to start bouncing because of XYZ reasons, and you've got a lot of good reasons to say that. But if you look at this chart, and ultimately this is kind of the only thing that won't lie to you because it's not news or media or anything like that, this is a pretty abysmal chart. This is one of the worst charts I could imagine if I'm trying to look for support. I mean, you try yourself, like try and find the support level below this yellow orange box, and good luck to you, sir, because I don't think you're going to be able to do it. The best that I can see starts forming around 0.42 BTC per token, and that is exactly where I've already drawn a box. So it really is indeed the case that this is a pretty hopeless zone for Ethereum. This is a pump that came directly out of nowhere, and I think it was extremely clear political stuff going on here, election stuff and so on. Just rushing that ETF approval. Does that mean this is going to change Ethereum's course now and make it bullish for the next few weeks and months, specifically and especially against Bitcoin? I don't know, but like I said, I just cannot be optimistic. It can definitely run against the dollar, and that would be fine, but we don't care about that. We just want to make Bitcoin. So, it doesn't really matter to me what it does against the dollar, to be quite honest. So I think that's something I'll be looking out for. Like I said, big price explosion if we do get above the resistance, because we've been held under it for so long now. So that to me is also very, very exciting, and that's something I'll be continuing to watch. there's so much more in the altcoin market. There's so much more that's worth talking about and worth considering to trade. I think Matic is starting to look like it's about to blow up. Look at it, just peaking up right here. It's almost like a volcano whose lava is bubbling up, trying to just get that breakout and absolutely erupt. It looks like Matic is doing that right now, so this is definitely one that's worth watching as well. We've got Solana that kind of just popped right now while I've been making this video with you guys. We've got ARB, which if it comes back down to some of its previous and very local zones of support, it could be looking at a very, very nice long setup. We've got Pepe right here, basically trading at all-time highs. There is a lot still going on and a lot that I haven't covered with you all in this video, so if you don't want to miss that content, look at that. That is absolutely insane right here from Pepe, from its previous all-time high that it punched in March up to today, up by 60% just from that all-time high, from this absolute low that we set in the middle of April until today, up by 4.3x, which is ridiculous. Like I said, a lot still going on, and if you want to get my full updates on all of this, if you want to see my live streams around it and just covering all of these price action opportunities that I'm seeing, then you can do that by making sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, that you've been hitting the like button up, and if you want to get free money that you can trade with, then check out the links below. Bybit remains the best in the game, but Blowfin is a very serious competitor in this space. Definitely one which I think is worth paying attention to, and they are offering some pretty sweet welcome bonuses to you guys as well if you do take advantage of their offers now. So that is super, super cool. With that, guys, hope you've enjoyed this. You know what to do, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.